This is the CM930 web camera from UGREEN, and it is a very interesting web camera. I have done a lot of videos on web cameras. I have done videos on the standard web cameras, the little tiny pan tilt zoom cameras, and I gotta lift this one up, the giant web cameras that you would see in more of a commercial setting. So what can this one do? Who is it for? How much does it cost? And is it any good? Well, we're going to find out all of those answers in this video. I'm going to do the unboxing. I'm going to test this camera in two different configurations. One here in my studio setup where I have a video switcher, and another setup in which I'm going to use it in my OBS connected to my laptop computer. And we're going to see how well it performs. I may even do some other experiments with it to see how well it does in different scenarios. I'm going to see what I can connect it to and if it works or not. And I'm going to let you know all of that in this video. So if you're curious about this camera and you'd like to see what it can do, because it can do some interesting things, well, stay tuned because you're watching Blue Collar Guy. We're back. So today we're talking about the CM930 web camera. We're going to go to the downward shot. We're going to get this out of the box and see what you get in the box. Okay, so here it is. We have the UGREEN 4K30 CM930. It has instant autofocus, AI tracking, gesture control, and you can also go from landscape to portrait. And that's kind of interesting because a lot of people might be using this for like TikTok videos, that sort of thing, if they're on the go. Now, the whole AI powered thing, I'm sure that has a lot to do with the tracking and the way it processes the images. So you can use it for meetings, streaming, gaming, and more. So if you're a gamer and you want to put your gaming on YouTube, that sort of thing, we're going to be testing it with my OBS system, and that a lot of gamers do that. They'll have something going in OBS and they'll use something like this to put an image of themselves. So you would have yourself in the corner much in the same way I am now, except instead of this on the main screen, you're going to have your game. So this camera can be used in that configuration. Now, because it has 4K 30, that's going to also appeal to a lot of gamers because they're going to be recording in that format. So on this side of the box, it's passing all of its requirements. This is all the certifications. There's nothing on this side. On this side here, it's got some recycle symbols, I guess. So on this side, we have a lot more information on, how it's packaged, printed with soy ink. I guess it's more environmentally friendly. Okay, so this is the back of the box. This is where all the information is. I'm just going to move it so you can see everything without me interfering too much in the corner here. And this is an image of it being used in an OBS system setup. This is no filters because it has built-in filters. And this is an example of what a vintage film filter looks like. We're going to test that out. This is the video resolution, 4K 30. It's also compatible with 1080p 60. Now, that's critical because when you're doing live streams, typically you're going to use 1080p 60 because it's just going to use a lot of data. You're also going to have issues with your Wi-Fi connection where you could get skipping, jitter, freezing, tearing, all that bad stuff. It all depends on your bandwidth. Now, here's your field of view. This is important as well. 79-degree diagonal, 67 horizontal, and 54 vertical, because you can use this camera in like a TikTok format as well as a landscape format. It has automatic autofocus. I believe it has phase detect autofocus. We're going to test the speed of the autofocus. Dual microphones with AI noise reduction. Now that's important because if you have a lot of noise, if you're in an apartment like me, and you have people vacuuming or things around you making noises, you don't want that to get into your videos. It also has a voice pickup distance of 5 meters or 16.4 feet, as well as an optical image range of the same distance. So this means that whatever you can see is going to correspond with your audio. and that's also important. Comes with a 6.6 foot cable, which is nice. It is compatible with Windows 7, 8, 10, or later. It also is compatible with Mac and Android. And it's got the manufacturing. It's also got a telephone number here for China if you need to contact anyone. They've also got a website, email support, which is really good. Now, before we go any further and I get this out of the box, I just want to mention something really quickly. Now, the one thing I want to let you know, full disclosure, this video is not sponsored. UGREEN did not pay for the production of this video. They did send me out the product so that I can review and test it only. I also don't use paid affiliate links. That means that I can remain neutral. I'm not going to tell you to buy this just so I get a commission on it, if you catch my meaning. I also don't use Patreon. I don't ask you to buy me a coffee. I don't have any of those requirements on my channel. There's no membership fees. And believe me, YouTube has asked me to put that up, and I have said no every single time. If you subscribe to my channel, you will get videos, you will get information, and that is it. There's no extra catch. If you were nice enough to put up with the commercials that YouTube puts on there, I am more than happy with that. So the only thing that I do ask is please watch my video to the end. That is all the support that I need. So if you want to share it with your friends, that would be great, but I don't require anyone to do that. I don't ever ask anybody to send me anything. Having said that, let's unbox this thing and see what you get in the box. All right, I'm just going to zoom out a bit so we can get a better view. Now, if you look off to the side here, this is my Centric S1. This is a video switcher. I'm going to hook this up to here through the UVC to HDMI converter, which is built in here. And I'm going to show you what that looks like, as well as my OBS setup. It says here that you can connect it to all different formats. So we're going to test that, and then we're going to also look at all of the features that it has to offer. So let's take this out of the box, and I'm going to show you. But other than that, my quick inspection, I have not touched this camera. So you are going to see everything the same way I will see it. So all of the seals are still on it. I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing broken inside. And we also, I'm just going to pull this out because I tend to do this because it's a little easier to get these things out of there. They're very snug when they're in there. And as you can see, there's a little hole in the bottom, and you can poke that out, and that works good. This is garbage. And then we have warranty cards, some stickers, and I'm not too sure what that is. User instruction manual. Another manual here. There is the parts number and everything. Okay. Quick setup guide. Everything is nicely packaged. You know, a lot of higher end electronics is using this style of packaging to keep everything sealed up really well. Okay. Now this looks like, yeah, I've seen this before. This is so that you can plug it into either USB-C or USB-A, and it's probably a 3.0. Nice. And what is this? We'll get here. Oh, this is interesting. I wasn't expecting this at all. I have never seen a little tiny tripod like this. That is really cool. I gotta tell you, that is probably one of the smallest little tripods I have seen. So if you want to put this on a desk, you can do that. Pretty neat. All right, and there's nothing else in the box. We're going to check just to make sure. Or we get rid of that. Now, what do we got here? Because I haven't seen this before. Okay, this is one of the mounts. So there's a 1/4 20 mount there. You can mount this on top of here. And then the camera will sit magnetically on top of that. So let's tighten this up here so that doesn't move. The legs are out all the way. I had never seen a tripod quite like this. Very unique. Oh, look at that. Well, I'm getting surprised left, right, and center here. Wow. Okay. I just happened to do that. I don't know why, but it doesn't look like they extend, but I just happened to pull on it and I thought, yeah, cool. And okay, I've seen this type of base before, and it's got the little hook for your laptop. And then you have this to thread onto here. Just like that. Now the star of the show. Let's get this out. See what this looks like. So, you know that this is definitely the first time, because once you break those seals, there's no going back. Interesting. Film. All right. It's not very heavy. And it also has, if you look here, it's got a little cover. So there's a glass film here, and then it has this too. And that's kind of nice, because if you had to clean it, you don't want to mess with that. This way, it doesn't matter if it's open or closed, you can clean it. You're not going to be pushing dirt inside there. This must be the two microphones right there. And this is one of the features that I thought was kind of cool, because you can just click and you can change the way your camera looks. And it doesn't matter which way you go. So you don't have to go one way and then all the way back the other way. It doesn't matter which way you go. And it's got a nice little click to it too. And over here you have a button. Not too sure what that does, but we'll find out. So, magnetic, and then vertical. How about this way? Nope, not this way. The magnets are on this side and this side. Anything upside down? Nope. So it guides you. It tells you which way you have to do it. So if you're curious, you say, well, which way do I orient it? It's either going to be this way with the dial facing up, or it's going to be this way with the dial facing this way. Kind of cool. So far, I'm impressed. I'm going to hook this up. Okay, so this is what the web camera looks like. Now, it's actually got a pretty decent picture. I'm going to put it closer to my Sony ZV-E10, and that's got a pretty expensive lens on there. And I'm going to compare it with this camera here. Now, it does have a lot of features, so we're going to go over those features. Okay, so right now it's hooked up. Now it's a little bit lower than my other camera, so you're seeing my downward shot camera, and you can sort of see what's going on in the background there. Now, if I go like this, I can zoom in. If I go like this again, I can zoom back out. So if I go like this, now it's going to track me. So if I move around a little bit, it sort of uses the zoom capability of kind of moving things around. Okay, that's how you stop it. You go the fist, and then it goes back to the way it was before. Now, I would probably use it more in this configuration. So it does have gesture control, which is kind of cool. So what it does is it kind of zooms in on you, and then it kind of moves around within that zoom. So the camera itself doesn't move. It's utilizing its field of view to kind of mimic a camera movement, which is actually quite smooth. Now, the only problem that I'm having is my studio lighting is causing a little bit of interference, because I've got a lot of bright studio lighting, and I don't think that this is an optimal position for this camera. I would probably put it someplace else. I did want to put it beside my other camera, my main camera, to show you the difference. So we're going to switch back and forth just so that you can get a comparison. This is what I look like on the Sony ZV-E10, and this is what I look like on the UGREEN CM930. And here is the Sony ZV-E10 again, and the UGREEN CM930. Now, I want you to make a note of something. So the picture quality on here is pretty good. Look at the Sony ZV-E10, $1,000 camera, another $300 or $400 lens on that. So we're talking $1,400 versus less than $150. Now, you're not going to have so much of a blurry background, but I am seeing a little bit of a blurry background. And if you look at the Sony, it has a different quality of look as well. $1,300 setup and a $150 setup. Pretty impressive for $150. Now, this camera can do things that the Sony can't do. This camera does have built-in filters, which is really cool. And they're easily accessible. So I'm just going to reach over right in front, and I'm going to do this in real time. So we're going to switch over to this one. So this is black and white, and this is kind of cool. So if you're doing a video and you wanted to add a little bit of interest to your video, you wanted to add a certain dynamic to your video, well, look, Sony ZV-E10, and now with the other filter, it kind of looks interesting. So if I wanted to, let's say, have a moment where I'm giving you a thought on something, or maybe I've got some music playing in the background to emphasize my point, we can use this filter on the webcam, and all of a sudden things are a little bit different. So is this camera at $150 competing against a $1,300 one when it comes to creativity? And the answer would be definitely yes. And you know, even when you're fading back and forth, it's a nice transition. So you know, here I am going into black and white mode, and this is kind of one of the modes that I was interested in, but it does have other modes. So let's check out the other filters here. And this one here is like a vintage filter, and it's doing a pretty good job. Now, the one thing that I might adjust is the white balance. I'd like to lock that in, and I'm not too sure if I could do that on this camera, but that is one feature that I would probably do. Yeah, I can still use the gesture control and zoom in. So if I wanted to have a close-up shot, and I wanted to have a different camera angle with a different look on a close-up shot, this would come in handy. So if you wanted to add some character, some interest to your videos, this might be the way to go, you know. And if I was doing like a Western theme, this would be the filter that I would probably use for that. So let's just zoom back out. Okay, now sometimes, so I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes the gestures, you know, the camera sees them right away, and sometimes it doesn't. That could be easily fixed with a firmware update. I would recommend to UGREEN to maybe take a look at that to see, but it could be just, you know, my gestures because I have big hands. So let's test the autofocus in one of the filters. So if I zoom in right there, that's pretty good. You know, you could even use this for a downward shot camera if you wanted to, and it would be quite inexpensive for that. You know, it does have the ability to focus pretty good. And I think it's actually phase detect autofocus. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty fast. Let me just go back to the Sony. Here's the Sony. Okay, now keep in mind this is a $1,400 setup, $1,400 versus $150. Come on, $150 and it's doing this. That's crazy. And look at the background. Things are a little bit blurry back there. I like that. Let's try another one. Okay, so I don't know if I'd use this one or not. Maybe Halloween, but it looks a little bit on the reddish side for me through my video switcher. And we're going to try all of these in OBS as well. Yeah, this one's a little bit on the blue side. Check out the autofocus. Okay, so the filters aren't interfering with that. They're just switchable filters. And this is kind of like a retro vintage look. And you'll have to forgive me. I have to keep checking because I've never seen these filters before either. This one's definitely green. I'm probably looking like a character off the Munsters right now. If you don't know that show, you look it up and you'll say, wow, that looks like Fester. Okay, and this one here is, I would say, more contrasty. Yeah. Okay. And let's go to number 7. Different look again. I would say the last filters are kind of give you more of a warmer look, sort of like you would get on like a Canon camera perhaps. Okay. And let's just go back to a standard. Okay, no filters. Boom. Okay, so the one thing that I was doing wrong, your fingers need to be spread apart when you're doing this gesture. So I move around now, and then if I go close fist, it goes back. So wide open hand, there we go. Okay, so one thing I learned, because I'm learning the same way you are, is the fingers need to be spread apart. If you go like this, it's not going to be a good gesture. So make sure your fingers are spread apart, and then the gesture works. And it is fairly smooth. Yeah, I would say. Now, if I go like this, okay. Now, when you want to switch off gestures, make sure your thumb is over these fingers here. Because if you go like this, it doesn't work. So, open hand, and the gesture works. Follows you around. When you close your hand, keep your thumb over here. I notice it works better if your thumb's over here than over here. So that's it for this part of the video, and let's go on to the next test. Okay, so we are now on OBS, and I'm recording this with the UGREEN CM930. And as you can see, I've got some space stuff going in the background there. I do like to put special effects. One of the advantages of having OBS is you can be a little more creative. Now I'm going to compare it right now with the webcam in my computer, just so you know, this is the built-in camera. Okay, so one thing I need to let you know is my microphone in my computer doesn't work that good. So I used a similar microphone on my other editing computer to give you an example of what the audio would sound like, and this is what it would sound like. So I just wanted to let you know that if you're wondering why my lips are not matching my voice, that is the reason why. Go back to the UGREEN. Now we're in the UGREEN, and this is what it looks like. So if I do the hand gesture, okay, oh, there we go. So when you're doing the hand gestures, you make sure your fingers are spread apart, and then it will do the hand gesture. And then I always cross my thumb, see? And then if you want to zoom in, you go like this, and then that'll zoom in too. So that's a little bit too much. So we're gonna go and put this. Oh, actually, I gotta zoom it out. There we go. So now I'm gonna put it in tracking mode, and there we go. And now it's got a pretty good centered shot of me. And it looks like it's on a gimbal, it's moving around, but it's not. It's just keeping me in frame. So I'm going to move back a little bit just to see how well the microphone does and see how well it keeps me in frame. So we're going to go over here, and there's going to be some limits. You see, there's going to be some hard limits on this. It can't do everything, but it is good if you're just trying to get a little bit of movement and you want to have a little bit of movement in your videos can create interest. Sometimes it can be distracting, but sometimes it can create interest too. And that's what that looks like. So I'm going to switch my background on here just so that it's not quite as busy. And actually, I'm just going to, we're going to switch
Okay, so
back
I'm
to
still
the other
using
one.
a different audio source. However, take a look at the video picture. There is a huge difference.
Not so distracting. So now we're on the UGREEN, but I've taken away the fancy background. So that's what that looks like. Now on the computer, we're going to do some filters too, because we did the filters on the video switcher, but now we're going to do it on the computer. So this is the black and white filter, and this is what it looks like. And we are recording everything in 4K, just so you know. And this is the vintage look, and this is what it looks like when you're running it through an OBS system. And I am using the microphone, so there's a difference in the audio. I'm using the microphones now on the UGREEN. When I was in the studio, I was using my studio microphone, so there is a difference. So it is important to let you know that I am using the internal microphones of the camera, and they do have AI noise cancellation. And we're going to switch it again. And this is a different look here. It's kind of like a different vintage look, I guess, more of a weathered look. And now this is kind of a spacey look. So if I was to add my stars again, I could probably add my stars. And let me just get out of studio mode and add the stars. There we go. So what do you think of that? That's kind of different. Wow.
Once again, I do
Put
not
on
have
there,
audio, but this
transition.
is a different background to show you what the webcam looks like.
I'll just give you a little. So let's change this again. Here's the green look here. And this is more of a almost like a vintage HDR look. And I think, yeah, this is kind of like I guess this reminds me of like Canon camera look. It's kind of a warm look. I kind of like it. It's a good look. If you
The
could
filters do
transition
make a
back,
big difference on the UGREEN.
and then we'll go back. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And then we're going to go back without any look at all. So this is 5600
Once
Kelvin,
again, this is the webcam on the computer.
but you can be very creative with the filters, which is kind of cool. So this is what that looks like, and this is what it sounds like. So what do I think of the UGREEN camera? So far so good. Now, one thing I want to point out is we're going to try vertical mode. And okay, so now we're in vertical mode. I've got some interesting looks here. So this is me in vertical mode beside the stars, I guess you could say. But this is vertical mode, and this is how it works. Now, it was a little tricky to switch to vertical mode, but it does do it, and this is what it looks like. So now, how does it do with the hand gestures? Okay, and it'll still do the hand gestures, and you can have those. So, and you can. Okay. So getting it to switch different gestures can be a bit tricky sometimes if it doesn't quite recognize your hands. I got big hands, so maybe that's my fault. And I'm going to go back to studio mode. And I'll just bring up the webcam again. And we will Transition.
Okay, so as you can see, we're back to the webcam. And the webcam only has one perspective, so you can't really do a vertical mode, and you can't do a portrait mode, and you don't have filters for your webcam. And of course, I don't have very good audio.
This might look a little bit better, so I can change a few things. But this is vertical mode. And this is what it looks like, and I should still sound the same. And can you use the effects in vertical mode? Yeah, you can use the effects in vertical mode. This is black and white, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just wanted to see if they're all working. This would be the warm look from the Canon look, I guess you could say. Alright, so that's what that looks like. Okay, so do I think the UGREEN CM930 is a good bang for the buck? I do. I think it looks pretty good. It's a very functional camera. I think it's an excellent value for the money. I do like the privacy cover. I'm just going to demonstrate that really quick. So there's the privacy cover, and there it is there. And as you can see, the white balance and everything goes back into control. So it's a pretty handy little webcam, I must say. It has the vertical format as well as the horizontal, so if you're doing TikTok videos, this is going to be a good webcam for you. It's got all of these really interesting filters. Now, I really like ones like the black and white filter. It's all done in camera, and there is something to be said for that. And look, I even have the tracking on, so if I move around, and if I shut off the AI tracking, so it's working there. But I was having some issues with the zoom a little bit. They do need to work on that, I think, a little bit. But it's a minor thing. It's not a big deal. Okay, so I'll just switch back here real quick. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it. I'd like to thank UGREEN for sending out the CM930 webcam. I think it's a great product. I like the price, especially. I think around 120 Canadian. To around 140, depending if you get it on sale. It's a very good value for the money. On that note, take care, be safe at work, and I will see you at the next video. Bye.